life and for every blessing that we have that sustains us in each and every day. Lord, we just ask you to bless us through this proceeding, that let us and lead us to serve your will and not our own, so that your will shall be done. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Today I bring before you a bill that I'm carrying on behalf of the Governor and First Lady. It's Senate Bill 461, building on the initiative that the First Lady and the Grace Commission have championed in the fight against human trafficking. This bill simply brings the serious offense of human trafficking onto the list of offenses only bailable before a Superior Court judge. With that, Mr. Chairman, I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Isn't it true, Senator, that Governor Brian Kemp and First Lady Marty Kemp have been some of the biggest champions to help combat the evil atrocity of human trafficking and are really setting the standard for the whole nation? Isn't that true?
Yes, sir. It is true, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Do we have anybody signed up to speak for this bill? Come on forward, and Andrew, please get the sign-up sheets.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Senators. I won't take a lot of your time. Nope, we understand. I'm sorry, Maisie Lynn Girton. Are you sure? Okay. My name is Maisie Lynn Girton. I represent the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. We understand the severe nature of this crime and are not here to oppose the fact that the governor would like to see it added to the list of crimes in this code section. Ever since Senator Robertson passed Senate Bill 402 a couple sessions back, we've come back every year to add new crimes to the list. And I guess as GACTL, we're just here to say to you, since your committee has vetted these bills each year, and to those interested parties, we would welcome a conversation where we could maybe do this all at one time, so we don't all have to spend year after year tinkering, so that maybe we could go ahead and grab up the most severe crimes and make sure they're covered, just as a matter of efficiency. Just know that we would welcome the conversation if anyone would like to have it with us, and we understand the situation here and the fact that this crime arguably warrants being added to the list.
Well, thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. One moment, please. Senator C., did you have a question?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess 461 I wasn't aware of. How long have we had it, and when did it get added to the calendar? And is this the one you were saying was a hearing only?
No, ma'am.
So we're voting on it today?
That is correct. The one that is a hearing only is Senate Bill 353, and there are some questions with some of the judges that we want to have some offline conversations for. But this is a addition to the great work by First Lady Marty Kemp and Governor Brian Kemp on combating human trafficking.
Mr. Chairman, may I further?
Certainly.
May I ask that we table it until I can get some information regarding it? It is typically not as common that we get a bill that we haven't had a chance to, I can speak only for me, had a chance to vet at all or have any dialogue. I know you're the chairman and you're gonna tell me what I need to hear, but I'm just making sure it's on the record.
Well, Senator, I do appreciate that, and I think we have a wonderful working relationship. However, this was put out ahead of time, and it has been enrolled into the Senate, and whereas there was an agenda for this meeting with this bill would be on it, I think it's very straightforward and not controversial at all. But thank you. Okay, thank you. Maisie, appreciate it. And then Wade, I think you're going to give us a quick comment. Nope, you're not going to give us a comment. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions from the committee members?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to pass from Senator Summers. Senator Robertson.
I'll second for discussion, if that's okay.
We have a second. Now we'll be open for committee discussion. Senator Robertson.
If I'm reading right, Senator, what you're doing is in something that the witness alluded to was Senate Bill 402, which basically what Senate Bill 402 did was restrict certain charges from being released on OR bonds or signature bonds, as they're called. What you're trying to do here is saying that only Superior Court judges can set bond amounts and not magistrate judges or some other inferior, in not as an insulting term, but a lower judge can set a bond on charges related to human trafficking. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Senator, that is correct.
Okay.
Currently, yeah, magistrate judge, which a lot of times is not an attorney, they're appointed, they're not elected. So in my opinion, they're not held to the same standards as a Superior Court judge, and a severe crime like human trafficking should be heard by a Superior Court judge, in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, because I do agree with the witness that, we don't need to come back every year and try to take a bite out of the apple. If we do our work the way it should be done, we include everything, but that's not what you're trying to do here. What you're trying to do here is make sure that these serious crimes go in front of the most powerful judiciary individual within the circuit, for them to determine, first of all, if a bond should be placed, and if so, how much. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Thank you.
And I made an error and failed to recognize Pete Skandalakis. Do you want to just give us a thumbs up, or do you want to testify? Okay.
I'm fine that we support this bill and ask the committee.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion, a second. I've got a question for discussion from Senator C.
Mr. Chairman, let me just be clear. I am for the bill. As a female, I know how important it is with human trafficking. As one of the representatives from Clayton County that houses the world's busiest airport, I know the offenses that are going on. It's been many people, such as First Lady Dalla at their church, that's been out here advocating for human trafficking, and many other not-for-profits. So I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm just saying the process, because it was a pop-up for me, I was unaware, and that's what I want to make sure is clear. I support the bill. However, I just do hope as we move forward, we don't do a lot of these surprises. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we appreciate your comments. After this meeting's over, let's make sure that the emails that are going out, which have the meeting agenda and information, are getting to you through your assistant. Ms. Allie Farmer here to my side sends those out in advance of our meetings. Okay, we've got a motion and second on table. Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to call a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. Passed unanimously. Congratulations. Best of luck in the Rules Committee, Senator. Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Okay, next, Senator Bruce Thompson. Are you here in the House? There you are. Come on down. Why don't we start first with Senate Bill 408, please. Should all have that in your folder. Should be LC 39-3100. And I will turn it over to you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to come before this esteemed committee. Both of these, this bill and another bill that we have right now that we may or may not be able to have a chance to hear, comes out of a task force that we set up. The Senate set up a task force. I appointed it, and we've been working on issues that of concern for the last couple of years. On Senate Bill 408, it's driver's license, the waiver of the required fees for reinstatement. What we found was we've got many individuals that inadvertently, they may have not had a first offense, clean driving record. Tim Head from Faith and Freedom Coalition testified, and he wound up with a citation. And he wound up failing to appear to court because he missed being notified. And what happened was he got his license suspended. In his case, as he testified, he could afford to be able to pay that reinstatement. But in many cases, we have people that can't afford the reinstatement. And in our state, we have a pauper's affidavit that they sign that reduces that by 50%. We We've talked to DDS and the commissioner there about this. In many cases, it's very difficult to recover those fees. The administrative cost of those fees still remain the operational costs. So we're seeking to do is be able to work through that. Sitting next to me is legal counsel, and they'd like to be able to take us right through the bill and then address any questions we may have.
Please.
Thank you, Senator Thompson. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what,
Could you announce your name and your role, please?
I suppose that would be helpful. I apologize. Wade Askew, I'm a supervising attorney at Georgia Justice Project. And so we've been speaking with Senator Thompson for a little while about this issue, and so we're happy to be here in support of and to explain what SB 408 does, which is fairly simple, which is for those individuals who have a suspended license where the only reason for the suspension is a failure to appear in court. So to be clear, if someone is pulled over for a DUI or something, if there's additional reasons for a suspension where reinstatement fees might apply, those reinstatement fees would still apply. This is just for folks who the only reason for their suspension is not appearing in court because they missed a notice or whatever reason that may be. And so what this bill would do to say in that situation, the reinstatement fee once someone gets to DDS to get their license back would be waived for that very specific situation.
Thank you. You've got a question from Senator Robertson.
Thank you for coming in. So you said when someone gets a citation, what could the citation be for?
So it could be the current text of SB 408 is for non-moving violations. We have a potential proposed amendment that would be to expand that a little bit to moving violations. So it could be, speeding ticket. You're going 5 miles over the limit. You roll through a stop sign, but not a serious driving offense. So not your DUIs, not your reckless drivings, not your drag racing.
How do we determine, who makes the determination of whether it's a serious driving offense or a minor driving offense?
So that would be covered under Article 15 of Chapter 6
Right.
of the code, the traffic code. And so if an underlying ticket
Right.
were for one of those specified, serious driving offense or, whatever version of the bill were, if it were to move forward, it would specify if the underlying ticket is for X, Y, or Z, you don't get the benefit of this fee waiver.
So you get a fee waiver if you don't do anything that the state law determines as a serious offense. But if there's something the state law determines as a serious offense, you don't get a waiver, even though the excuse for missing court may be exactly the same. Do you feel that when the individual gets the citation and the officer reads the court date, which in many cases now, all you need to do is go down to recorder's court or first court, show your driver's license, they accept a copy of your driver's license as bond and waive the case over to state court.
Mm-hmm.
And then you receive notices. Do you feel that maybe we're giving people the opportunity not to fulfill their obligation to respond to the court because they're not being apprehended at the scene, they're not being incarcerated, their vehicle's not being towed?
Right.
I mean, do you feel that maybe we're building an exit that could be exploited by people who just want to take advantage of the system?
Well, I think that's a very pertinent question, and I think that a couple of things. The question is, one would be, are we letting folks who, don't appear, who are trying to take advantage of the system, are they facing any consequence? And I'd say the answer is still yes. They still have the ticket. They still have to answer for that, whether they've appeared or not. The question is suspension purely for this reason of not appearing when we know, and I can say as our office representing a high number of low-income individuals, particularly those who are exiting incarceration and other situations, that very, very often a failure to appear in court isn't the kind of scofflaw, I don't want to be part of the system. It's very often the Tim Heads who may not have received notice, or we even had a client recently who was incarcerated at the time that his ticket was going to be heard, and he sent a letter. He notified the court, I cannot be there, I am incarcerated, and his license was still suspended for failure to appear. So it's those situations where an individual has done what they can, but either they didn't get notice or they had a health event or any kind of number of reasons that could come up. And the last thing I would just note is the reason to kind of, for us to kind of focus on this ability to retain a driver's license is its connection to work, is that we're really concerned with folks being able to get to their jobs.
Would you agree that anybody that doesn't show up for court, their license aren't automatically suspended?
Well, that's current law, but SB 353 would.
I said they're not automatically suspended.
Oh, I apologize. I
Yeah.
misunderstood your question. Because of the 30-day notice and waiting period?
Right. Well, and if somebody, if the state fails to notify, then I can see that. But if someone sends a letter from jail and says, I'm incarcerated, will not be able to make my court date, I've seen thousands of times where those cases are either rescheduled or accommodations are made, if depending on what the charge is, or the incarcerated person, if it's within the same jurisdiction, can even be brought in to answer to the charges that the traffic stop was immediately made on. I'm just wondering if we're trying to solve a problem that is really not that great of a problem.
So from our perspective, Senator Robertson, it is a great problem. There's 105,000 suspensions every year
That's right.
for failure to appear, and from what we hear from on the ground, in my experience, having been an attorney representing low-income people for nearly a decade, that very, very often, especially for low-income people who are moving frequently, and so the last known address with that a letter may go to may not be the address. There might be an issue there. You have individuals whose work schedules are often very inflexible, who might lose their job, who are facing very difficult decisions of keep my job. I want to do my best with my court obligations. I can't just pay it off. I don't have the money. So what do I do? And so
Well, I have a lot of respect for Senator Thompson. I appreciate what he's trying to do for those who are in bad situations. Can you tell me how many traffic citations, non-serious traffic citations, are issued annually in Georgia, and of those, how many are fail to appear?
I cannot.
Thank you.
I've got a question from Senator Cardin Summers.
Senator Robertson asked questions I was concerned about, but one more time, if you don't mind. General, how many are we talking about here? How much does this affect population-wise or people-wise that are incarcerated? How much are not incarcerated or whatever?
Sure. So there's 105,000 failure to appear suspensions per year. And so again, what that is speaking to is when someone does not appear in court, that is reason for a suspension, regardless of what that underlying ticket is for. So it could be a relatively minor ticket where even if they're found guilty, it's not a suspendable offense. Or it could be something that is more serious, which this wouldn't change that if there's an additional reason for suspension.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman. Out of the 105,000, how many lose their license? How many are suspended?
So that would be, that's
Is that the 5,000?
5,000 is the suspensions.
You're suspending 105,000.
Yes, same.
Is there, Mr. Chairman, is there a grace period for getting your license back right now, though?
Once the license is suspended, the only way to get your license back is fully adjudicating the case and paying off all fines and fees, and then going to DDS and paying off their reinstatement fees.
Would not what you're trying to do be better if you made it a temporary saving grace and then make them have to pay off their fines and forfeitures and that kind of stuff instead of just getting a license back? I may not be following you all the way. I'm just trying to make sure.
Sure. So what 408 addresses is only the DDS reinstatement fee. So in terms of your obligation with the court, your fines, your
Right.
fees, all that with the court, that's unaffected. So what 408 would do in isolation, which I know 353 will table that for now. If we're just talking about 408, then we're still living in a world where someone has to go back to court, adjudicate their case, pay off all fines and fees. All that is unchanged. And then their final hurdle is go back to DDS and then pay an additional reinstatement fee. And I should mention that there's a failure to appear fee. So someone's still paying an additional fee to court for failing to appear.
One more
So-
question, Mr. Chairman. Who administers it exactly, and is it with the probate courts or the courts be having to take over the job for DDS on this?
No, so the court would not be taking over a job for DDS on this. 408, courts are unaffected. The 408 is purely about when someone goes to DDS. Right now, what they are currently doing is administering a fee waiver, like Senator Thompson mentioned, to say, if I have passed everything I need to do with the court, with probate court, municipal court, whomever, state court, and now I have gone to DDS, there's this final fee that I'm facing. And for low-income folks, it might be, that's the final hurdle that I cannot get over. And so right now, existing law provides for a 50% fee waiver for those individuals, a pauper's affidavit. And so right now, as the commissioner has expressed to Senator Thompson, there's administrative cost to the department to administrate that pauper's affidavit. SB 408 would actually simplify things administratively for the department, because someone, if the reason for their suspension was failure to appear, we don't need to worry about administering a pauper's affidavit. We're not adding anything administratively. We're actually taking away to say, this was the reason for my suspension, so we don't have a fee here. I just need to fill out the paperwork I need to do to get my license back.
Tell you, we're going to just continue on one more question. We're going to make this a hearing only too, because a few things were brought out that I think we need to have a little further discussion, but I'm going to recognize Senator Anderson for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What would be the average fee that you're trying to waive? What's the average price?
Typically about $90 to $100.
90 to 100.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee members? Okay, we're going to continue some discussion on that and hope to have a further hearing on that on sometime next week. We're going to switch to the hearing only for Senate Bill 353. So if you want to stay right where you're at. And we should all be working off LC 393099. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Staying in that same vein, COVID has brought a very interesting situation for many of us in very verticals of our life. One of the situations is obviously courts. Many of us that have to utilize the courts for various things have found how backlogged they are and the challenge we have with being able to communicate. Certainly they overwork the stack or backlog there of cases. One of the things that we found out was in FTAs. So a couple of probate judges reached out to me and talked to me about what happens. If you have someone that fails to appear, again, maybe as this gentleman just explained, they relocated, didn't get notified, or possibly they were in a hospital with COVID like many of us were for a period of time, and the court was not notified where they were. And that suspension goes right into effect. The probate judges do not have the current discretion to avoid that that license suspension. So simply this bill just gives, it's no mandate, it simply gives probate judges the discretion that at their discretion, again, they don't have to suspend that license. They can take other actions. So
and
that's
we
what
did
this
get a
bill
little
does.
bit of feedback, thank you, Senator, from several of the judge groups, and that's why you and I thank you for your time before this meeting. We're going to get all those interested parties together and see if there is some common ground we can find. And I know that when we all work together with a good compromise, good things happen around here. So with that in mind, Maisie Lynn, you had signed up for this as well. Do you want to speak to it? Okay, very good. Any questions of committee members? Seeing none, we're going to continue to do some good work on here. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. This meeting of the Senate Public Safety Committee is hereby adjourned.